And then the experience that I had to share, this dream vision that I had, was very interesting. I was in I knew that I was a part of like a police force, or I was a part of this sort of like something like the police force, or maybe like FBI, which is like the free beings of the is. We went over that reference a while ago. That's not actually like Federal Bureau of, something, something. But anyways, I was a part of this group, and I knew that or the sister was there. My sister, her name is Elizabeth, and so we were there, and we were sitting in like the cafeteria area. And we were sitting in the cafeteria area. At least the individual who looked to be like my sister in the body form, she was on my left-hand side, and she was eating and drinking some food. And then there was another individual on my right-hand side, sitting across the table from myself. Both of them, in fact, were sitting across from me. Neither one of them were sitting next to me. Again, sister was on the left, and the other individual was on the right. And the individual on the right-hand side was a larger woman wearing glasses, and very thick frame, black frame glasses. And she just started making all these really nasty comments directed at the sister. She just started making all these judgments and criticisms, and why do you do something like this and like that? And I remember I was kind of put in this position to where I could get involved or not get involved. It was very interesting because the lady that was spewing out these comments was even looking to me for agreement. She was making these comments and then looking over at me after every comment that she made, sort of trying to see my reaction, or trying to see like if I'm agreeing with her, almost like, are you going to laugh along? And I remember I let it go on for a second or two, and then finally I stood up. I stood up from the table when I was eating, and I stood up from, I think I was eating like soup or something. And I stood up from the table, and I told her, I said, I basically told her, don't talk to her like that, regardless of whatever, she's a human being. You can't treat her like that. And I remember that lady stood up, and she tried to get in my face, and she was just basically saying, who are you? And I said, it doesn't matter who I am, but like, who are you? I asked her a reverse question. I said, well, who are you? Like, and I knew that I had to be careful of what I was going to say, because again, we were in that cafeteria at the job. And so like, any kind of outburst is seen as like unprofessional, and like, it is not a place for confrontation generally. Right. And so anyways, I remember she just kind of went on to say something else, and she just basically didn't let up. And I just kind of told her, why don't you get lost? Something like that, or something along those lines. I think I even cursed at her or something like that. And anyways, when I did that, it was very interesting, because I did that without a second thought for my job, that I didn't care if I was going to lose my job. I wasn't going to just be passive, and let her be this way, be just kind of like cruel. And all of a sudden, everybody in the cafeteria started clapping for me. And I thought that was, I remember at the time, I didn't really get it. When people started clapping for me, all these people around me started clapping for me. I didn't really understand. I kind of was looking around and a little bit like confused, and I sat down. And I remember I was shuffling, kind of like I didn't really know how to react to the applause. And it was very interesting that they had all applauded for me. Well, anyways, it was very interesting, because this was connected to a physical injury or tap line that I had on my right-hand side in the shoulder area. It's a previous injury, but it was an injury that was very persistent, and I knew that it was a tap line. I had another experience I won't get into. It's just a longer one, but yeah, it's there on the right-hand side, and in the recent days, it had caused me a lot of pain. It was actually like I couldn't even turn my head to the right and bend my head certain ways. I was doing some stretches, really improved. But in this experience, after I had faced this lady and basically kind of said, to heck with my job, she's not just going to say whatever, I'll at least not be passive. All of a sudden, when I came back into the physical realm, in the daytime, this injury sort of ceased. All of the pain kind of really eased, and I had like a lot of my mobility, and it was very pleasant. It was very much improved. And so that was the experience I had to share.
And I like your experience today, because again, it's confrontation, but You know, your experience with Paul, he's and he did the same thing with me, and they always do. They come step up once in a while, but it's all invisible now with me. I learned to see it, but they come in once in a while and they say things, but he's showing you how to relate to these situations. But the best part is you stood up to it and wasn't concerned about anything. That's your focus. And the applause, well, that's the boys. And that's, you know, it's just like in high school. Remember the cafeteria? It's the cafeteria effect because it's the high school stuff, it's creation. And high school is really a reference to creation. We go through these levels, these grades, to try to grow up, but we really don't. But we have a lot more to do. But it's kind of the puberty stage when we're young. So there's kind of the idea, and you confront it. You know, the influence there doesn't matter who it is, but she's adamant to have things her way and her control, etc. And so she sees that you're interfering, and that's the dark rim glasses. You know, it's the physical side. Also that physical personal side, so there's somebody there too, bugging you, but it's all okay, you see it. And again, it's fun to have questions. Okay, see, when you react, and it's okay, you'll learn this and you did good, they like you to react, okay, because that shows that they got your attention and that they can do more things to make you react. Just like in school, the bullies, you know, it's because people reacted. Now, if you were the Flash in school, you wouldn't have to confront them. You're so fast, you're on the other side of the school, guy can't see you. You see? So it's kind of like that too. But, you know, you can have a question ready, something like, you know, as she starts to say this funny stuff and bother people, go over there and put your hand on her shoulder and say, "Are you okay, miss? You know, we can get you some professional help if you need it." You see, that puts the ball back in her court. And that will really kind of bother her. You see, that will bother her. So she's bothered by herself. And so you're not bothered, but she's bothered by herself. So it's kind of like you pass the mosquito that she's putting on you to her. And so as you do these questions to her, you know, and whatever the answer is, you deal with it. It's like playing tennis. You hit that ball back, but you hit it in a way that they got to chase it. And so that's the fun part. I like rehearsing that because then it gives me an opening too. As to, you know, the next question could be, do you know why you're here? Do you know why you came here? Do you know where you're at? You know, and people really don't. Ask anybody you know, do you know why you're here? See, that's a good question. And they'll say, well, what do you mean? I'm here because I live here or whatever. And I said, no, that's not it. You chose to come here. Do you remember why you came here? You see, these questions are very interesting because people don't really realize, and you know, is like, do you are you sure that you're breathing clean air? Are you sure the air is clean? You know, just ask questions like that where it puts it back in their court to where they answer it, and also it gets the conversation going to where you can start to implement certain ideas that they may wake up to. And now we've got there's a fella on Duane Lee Heppner there. Duane's only got, the Duane Lee Heppner spot has only got about less than 50 friends there, but that's okay. But one of them is Joseph Bologna, who's from Africa. And he was with us years ago. Bald guy, used to wear sunglasses, African. And he's doing financial stuff. And he went back to, he was, I think he was in a spiritual path, but he was with us. But he went back to religion for a while. And I remember we were even on a call with him. And he went right back to religion for a long time. Now he showed up in the last month or two. And he just asked me today for some of the new books. It's very interesting how things come around. But anyhow, those are some fun things to, you know, think about. I even giggle about this stuff as these questions that I kind of create to be ready to ask people. And one of the fun ones is, because I like to hear their responses, do you know why you're here? Do you know where you came from? You know, do you remember, you know, deciding to come here and what to do? Do you have a purpose? You see? There's many that you can think of. And so you got to rehearse that, because yes, the personal self wants to react. Mine does too. Sometimes I use the F word, this and that, but it's, you know, it's all okay. And actually the F word was something good at one time. It's just that it's used for everything now. But anyhow, yeah, sometimes I react to, but it's no big deal. But I'd rather do it that way, and you have that advantage. So I remember when I first took the Rod of Power, and I was sitting in a cafeteria like that with some of the boys. And I was sitting at the table, and Yabel and Rebazar were sitting across from me, like you do when you're having lunch with your friends. And then I looked to the right. The whole place was empty, but I looked to the right, and there was this woman sitting by herself over there, dark hair, whatever, and on the other side of the table, and there's a walkway in between, and then you have the next picnic bench type thing like they do in high school auditoriums for lunch. And she's just smiling at me. And so from that moment on, I recognized her. Oh, she's the influence, okay? And so again, she takes many disguises. But today, isn't it, people have worn this for years, it's the dark rim glasses, isn't it? To where you know, even nice looking girls or men or whatever, they wear these dark rim glasses sometimes, especially in the business world. Because the idea is that, oh, I'm a smart person, you know, and these glasses are kind of a symbol of that, you know. It's like whatever they think accordingly. And so there's your experience. But as you come back here and look at it, then you can be ready for it, because you're having all these experiences, and you're always going to get confrontation. Always. You and Kevin and all of us. I do too. I'm there. You know, I practice all the time, so it becomes automatic for me. And this is how we relate to people. And this is where we are not against anything. You know, that's the best part. And when people ask me this or that, especially the God people, it's like, do you believe in God? It's like, I'm fine with everything. But some people will say, well, nobody can be fine with everything. And you can say, you're right. I'm not fine with everything, but I just can't think of, you know, what it is right now. But other than that, I'm fine with everything. So again, you handle the conversation. You decide how it's going to go, instead of being the effect. And being the effect is okay too. Take the beating and just be okay with it. But we have the knowledge to provide for them and see if they'll wake up and have fun with us. Yes, thank you, Jeremy. That was cool. Thank you so much.